It's time for Planet Green.
We have launched.
We've completely launched. We've started the show, and it is Planet Green Trees. We're about to embark 2 hours of medical marijuana and marijuana reform in Michigan.
Planet Green Trees.
Attention, ladies and gentlemen. The Planet Green Trees show is underway with your host, attorney Michael Komorn.
Alrighty.
We have launched.
Everybody, Planet Green Trees is officially starting episode number 550. I'm your host, Michael Komorn. Today's date is February the 24th, the year 2022, and it's already flying by, isn't it? We're calling tonight's show, Where Do We Go From Here? I had nothing to do with that title. And we're going to do about an hour and a half, 2 hours of some discussions, conversations about some things in the news, some issues that we're interested in. Criminal justice reform, cannabis, some topics in the news that touch on those particular areas. And we have a great group of people surrounding me here that are going to help make it entertaining and funny, mostly on the funny side. And let me do this. Let me tease the topics we're planning on getting into, and then we can introduce the crew and get right into it. There may be a rant, there may not be a rant. Topic number 2, Michigan to regulate CBD under the Cannabis Regulatory Agency, the CRA. A lot of activity surrounding that, a lot of offshoots of discussion and consideration. Next topic is Michigan marijuana recall reversal let businesses sell contaminated cannabis. We have been discussing this weeks ago, but it's always fun to point out the silliness of some of these labs.
I mean, I can only say, after all of that, is why have testing?
Save that for when we get to it, because there's a lot to be said there. Whitmer rolls out new name for the Michigan Pot Agency.
Oh, boy.
Changing from the Marijuana Regulatory Agency to the Cannabis Regulatory Agency, the CRA. Some on the Cannabis Law section claims that they were being copied because at one time the Cannabis Law section was the Marijuana Law section. They changed their name appropriately because it's kind of as PC as you can be, or more PC than marijuana. And then, of course, we've got House Bill 5512, the Judiciary hearing is news. 5512, as I was reminded, is the anti-TUI legislation, where they're trying to circumvent the holding in that case and legislate that those entering drug courts, veteran courts, and mental health courts will not be able to use their medical cannabis, contrary to the TUI opinion. So we may talk about that as well.
If the Crown says so.
It should be the go-to medicine in mental health courts.
You would think.
Possibly.
For most things.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a panacea. That's always an issue. You know, we talked a little. All right, let's introduce everybody here, and then we can start talking about panaceas. We have the Bunker Boys who are running the show here. I don't think Justin showed up, but Dan is somewhere lurking, being dangerous. And of course, Tommy over here,
Dangerous
running the front gate here.
Probably being a little dirty as well.
Next around the horn here, we've got Jim Powers, founder of Michigan Parents for Compassion, and apparently someone that's going to go back to the control of your Prime membership. Please welcome Jim Powers.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening, Michael. It is good to be here after a little bit of a break. I hear it's gonna snow here in a little bit. So
Yeah, we were able to get the show in tonight, though, before it starts.
so thank God for that. But
Did I just hear that Jimmy was renewing his Prime membership?
I'm renewing it. Well, you have
he's
to
gonna
every
be
year.
in charge of them.
You have to renew it every
No
year,
shit.
and the price just went up. So
Oh my
fun
goodness.
fact: renew in
They
February.
had to pay for Jimmy, so they had to bump up our cost of our membership.
And we are blessed to be joined by Steve Miller. His catalog of events, too many to exclaim, but tonight we're going to refer to him as the master of the dessert tea. Please welcome Steve Miller.
Right.
All right. Thank you. Thanks for being here.
He's
and
got some stuff steeping in the back
That's
as
right.
we speak.
After introductions, I'm going to head in and get our teas. And why is the term marijuana not PC?
It's a good question. I think I have an answer. Let's see. Let's figure that out as we introduce our next guest in the queue over here in the Zoom. I understand she is an NFT master, amongst other things. And
That's what I hear.
that's right. That's my story. I'm sticking to it. Please welcome Amanda Joslin.
Hey, you guys. Thanks for having me on. I'm just still sitting over here wondering who we're going to blame for any audio and visual issues if Justin's not there.
Oh, it's still his fault.
Okay.
So-
All
so
right.
We can defer to Dirty Dan if we need to.
Yeah.
All right.
But
So-
we'll
All
try
right, very
not
good.
to.
Sometimes I've introduced Amanda, because she's got her fingers in a lot of stuff. We got the certifications. We have her involvement with the patient advocacy group with the Ohio Girls. Danielle is one of them. I joke that she's a YouTuber herself. But now we're down to, if you want NFT and Coinbase advice,
Yeah.
Amanda's
Absolutely.
available for hire.
That's right.
Yep.
And
yep.
She's a trailblazer.
consulting fees are
Absolutely.
reasonable under the circumstances.
I mean, we're going to
Yep.
start negotiating a deal for her and Schuyler to do a crypto segment on PGT.
No, this is,
Yep,
we should only
absolutely.
leave
In
tonight.
fact, I was asked to be in Forbes, an article in Forbes today.
Yeah.
I turned it down. I told her I'm not comfortable with that. That's too intense. I'm not gonna do it. Okay.
I don't blame
But it was
you.
offered, and I'm like, who gets offered a freaking article in Forbes? Like,
Listen,
not
it's
not like me.
it's
Maybe so.
we're not. I don't want to, for the same reasons we don't want. You didn't want to be in Forbes. I don't want to get into too much detail, but it really is
Yeah.
it's an
Crazy
offshoot.
thing.
Yeah, crazy thing. But I was going to say, in lieu of discussing in greater detail, what we should do is commit to, by the end of the show, have created a Planet Green Trees NFT and we sell it immediately.
That's a good idea.
That should be the
Yeah.
plan.
It's good investment.
Schuyler, I know you're listening.
Michael, yeah.
Schuyler, we'll
That's
cut you a deal.
actually a great idea. You can do them on
Get
all
Rob.
these
Get Rob. Just get Rob
virtual
involved.
things.
Yeah.
I
We'll-
will totally.
We'll
do
start the
that.
bidding at $500,000.
All right, NFT at the end of the show. And someone who I know,
Art.
someone who we know will be in on that bidding,
Yeah.
the man who is responsible for all things. Let's welcome Jamie Lowell.
So,
How's your 3D printer working out for you?
pretty good. Still digging it, doing some improvements on it, having some fun with it.
What have you made so far?
I made another ukulele,
Did you?
like a different style of ukulele with a pickup. Included, so it can be plugged into an amp.
You printed that thing out, huh?
I did, yeah.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Jamie, you don't talk about this on your show, so I think it's an important segment that we're going to capitalize right here. It'll be the Jamie.
Funny you say this, because we were discussing an offshoot show that is kind of like just designed around having just some interesting topics, kind of while you're hanging around smoking pot, maybe drinking some coffee.
So the 3D printer. Yes,
3D
exactly.
printing could be a cool,
could be,
cool discussion.
Could call the show Show and Tell.
Yeah.
What did Jamie
Smoke
print?
and tell.
What did
Oh
Jamie
boy,
print
show
today?
and tell could get a little sticky.
What did Jamie
You know
print
what I mean.
today on his printer?
I think
Smoke and tell, I like
if there's
that.
going to be some 3D printing, part of the segment's got to be ukulele playing with a pickup in it.
I mean,
That's gonna be
that should
part
be
of
one part.
the
The other
song.
part should be Jamie printing inappropriate things with the 3D printer. Like it could be a weekly
Yes.
segment, and it would always be more inappropriate than the week before.
Do you think the
Could
3D
you print
printer?
inappropriate things with your printer, Jamie? If you
I haven't
wanted?
yet. You could, sure.
Okay.
You could reproduce anything that's they could fit, and then it could even be bigger. You can print it in segments and glue it
Ooh.
together.
That sounds
So
like
if you saw something in the store that you liked, you wouldn't necessarily have to go purchase it. Is that what
If
you're
you can,
saying?
if you can scan it, if it's something that could be just, a lot of times it can just be printed.
Hmm. I could see this putting Amazon out of business, Jim.
it could.
Yeah.
If
You just
people
scan
could
it,
start
scan
You
it,
might
and print
have
it.
to
printing their
invest in
things
a-
that they need, then you don't
Everybody
need
got
to order from
everybody
Amazon.
had
Couple of
printer and
industrial
we're using
3D printers.
different materials and stuff like that. You could replace lots of stuff, and there wouldn't have to be manufacturing plants making a bunch of shit.
Yeah.
There's maybe
you could just make it in your own house.
Right.
he may be
tools, everything. Like
Yeah.
cooking shit, whatever.
They'll make a crime. It'll make it a crime.
No, I was going to say he's defining what might be better described different than caregiving as a home occupation.
Yeah.
Right. Just kidding. But it's this may even be it's in a way, but almost like relationship to like the decentralized banking and the independence and the breakoff of the centralized banking, NFTs, and the crypto world. This 3D printing is almost like the Cro-Magnon version of that. Like, in a way, it's kind of like, but
you can 3D print a house.
Mm-hmm.
You can.
I got it.
Yes, you can.
Well, maybe that'll be one of the projects undertaken. And it's not uncommon, Jamie. We know that this has happened in the past. I begin to state an idea and then someone else takes it. So I've probably mentioned in the past, and you guys probably figured that out for your.
You can 3D print a house in hempcrete.
That's true.
Well, I
That's
think
true.
that their
Are the-
administration is using the 3D printer for some money.
All right, here's a question that was posed, and we can take turns answering. But who wants to go first as to why is use of the term marijuana not PC? Who wants to go on this? Okay, Jamie, go.
I have an answer, but nobody else wants to go. It was a term made up in part for racist purposes, trying to place a lot of blame on the Latino population for bringing the cannabis around, the evil weed around into United States, and it was also kind of replicating the approach used on the Chinese with the opium dens years before.
In what way?
And blaming them for it causing a bunch of problems and justifying rooting them out and law enforcing against them.
I see. The association, you're suggesting the association of cannabis with Hispanic population in the United States was
That's true.
okay.
Anslinger really.
And also,
made
and the
it
other thing is,
popular.
like, everybody was, I mean, not everybody, but people were familiar with cannabis, and not in a negative way at all. It was used for many things very positively. It was being known around the time that you could start making, products out of it in terms of fiber and all that kind of stuff. And obviously its medicinal use had been going on for years at that point. Doctors around that time were offering up cannabis oil to patients. So to start saying that they were going to outlaw cannabis ultimately was something that would have been confusing to a lot of people and probably not getting any support.
I want to add to some of that. You're right, Jamie, and it was a created word. Didn't exist before. It was known as hemp, or it was known as cannabis, right? Mm-hmm. Marijuana was created
Devil's lettuce.
For that reason, in the association for racist purposes. There's a J, a marijuana, right?
Marijuana.
Which the MMA attempted to insert an H to try to rectify that, but it still didn't get past the use of the word marijuana. Furthermore, it is not a scientific word.
No, it's not.
So this is the most remarkable thing. Just as it goes with all things that are part of the biggest lie ever told, it's the use of it is so odd, but it's what we've all come to understand. And you're right, Jamie, because it had been a medicine. It was in elixirs, it was oils. It's on every shelf in the late 1890s, early 1900s, medicine. And the idea that all of a sudden that would have been outlawed would have been outrageous. There was a period of time during the testimony taken when they were outlawing it to create the Stamp Act, and there's this testimony of the director of the the medical association that was testifying, Dr. Woodward. He may have even been I don't know if they had a doctor within the cabinet, like a physician or whatever, but he was certainly one of the organizations, one of the medical organizations. And he came to testify like he didn't know what marijuana was. He never heard of it before. It was like the first time they ever heard of it, just like associated with it, we started calling it. And it just shows you some of the brainwashing that went on at the time. And of course, It was a product that the United States government, we all know the story, but the point is that the use of marijuana in this regard is associated with those times. But it's even more absurd now because its placement in our statutes and its use to criminalize is just completely conflicted now with the legalization of hemp, for example, the inability of the state lab to be able to quantify the amount of THC. They don't do any of that testing, so they get a cannabis sativa L plant.
Yep.
And that's really all they can say. They can call it marijuana all day long. It may very well be, but they are not able to, at this point, they're not even attempting to establish it and don't have the skills to do that. Other private labs do, but that's a problem that they have. It gets more complicated with, because what we're really talking about is an amount of THC, but THC in and of itself is not necessarily illegal.
Right. And the only time that the amount of THC really is relevant, at least at this point, is
In the plant, dry weight in the plant.
well, no, when you're driving, as far as it,
Well, does it matter? I don't know that it does.
Well, no, I mean, I don't agree it does either, but it's the only time that it would be quantified by the state police. I mean, I don't think that they're going to do what value would it add for them to?
Well,
do sort of testing?
the point is this, that they have always utilized the laboratory report and the quantifying of a certain amount of THC in the blood as one of the several totalities of circumstances that they will put into the soup and feed that to the jury.
Right.
So it may not individually make no sense at all, but that's the way they play it. But one of those pieces of the soup are these lab reports that first of all shouldn't be relevant because the state police, in their efforts to try to determine if the state Michigan should have a per se limit, determined that the state should not have a per se limit because the amount of THC in one's blood is not correlated to their impairment. Someone could have a very low amount and be...
It's a wise decision.
Right. So I know we're a little bit off topic here, but back to the thing about marijuana, the use of marijuana. What I'm saying is, when you talk about... So marijuana is a Schedule 1. Schedule 1 drugs are what is the illegality. Like, it's that connection. But marijuana is a Schedule 1 if it is greater than 0.03% THC, right? Or it's actually, any part of that plant greater than 0.03% THC. Now, but, and as I said, the state's unable to delineate that. But calling it marijuana is what makes it Schedule 1 or Schedule 2. If it's hemp, it's not those things. Right? So the strange...
Which doesn't make any sense.
The strange name they add to it is what makes it this illegal thing. But as it sits there, it's cannabis sativa L.
Right.
And first of all, marijuana is maybe identifiable if you do a quantification test of the THC. But THC is a molecule, right? Mm-hmm. THC is a molecule that can be identified. That's a scientific thing. The cannabis sativa L is an identifiable plant in science and in naming nomenclature. You've got, the definition of hemp, which is and then you got this marijuana thing, which is not associated with any real scientific concept.
Right.
And the use of and the whole focus on THC, by the way, is not criminalizing it, right? The THC's got to be associated with marijuana. All right. So what was the question?
I don't know.
Anything else to add to that, Jamie?
No.
No, that's pretty good. But I guess the only thing to add is that after so many years, just like Steve just asked the question, why is that? We've become, without any real stigma or any ill intent or something like that. In this day and age, so many years later, so many people use marijuana now, just referring to the same thing as we refer to as cannabis. So from a historical perspective, it probably shouldn't be used, but it's not like it's just, to me anyway, it's not like this horrible thing. I kind of understand why people use the word after so many years.
It's true. And, Jamie, you've probably had this experience too. And I remember distinctly from, remember we did that Dr. Nandy show? So, you could be talking to someone, and I'm more aware of it now than ever before, but I probably not because it's not politically correct to use marijuana, but it just means nothing. It's got nothingness. Use of cannabis or, is a better use, I think, if you're going to describe it. And I think, as an advocate, when you're walking around and talking to people or engaging in that conversation, if someone says, hey, what do you do? What kind of law do you practice? Or, what kind of business are you into, Jamie or Amanda? What kind of doctors do you work with? Blah, 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 blah. It's almost incumbent upon you, part of the conversation narrative, to either, they're going to rely on you to call it what it is. Marijuana, cannabis, or you may even say cannabis, they have no idea what you're talking about. Why is he calling it marijuana, right? But I'm just saying, like most people are not even aware that they would even mention or use those terms, just because of the brainwashing and the use of the words. But Jamie, I'm referring to, there was a guy on that show with us who was from L.A. that had a dispensary out there, and so during the show they were talking about
Justice.
Right. So throughout the show, they're talking about marijuana, medical marijuana, Michigan Medical Marijuana Act, blah, 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 blah. So we're halfway in, and I got a couple things in, and Rick's got a couple of things in, and then they go to him. He's like, I don't call it cannabis because calling it marijuana is racist. Like, he just called us out shit. He was like one of those. He was like,
he was
just threw everybody under the bus.
Do you remember? We went out to lunch with him. He was all right.
He was a nice guy. I got what he was saying, and it was an important point to make, obviously, but it depends how steadfast you are in communicating about that. But do you have a memory of that at all, Jamie?
Yeah, kind of remember that. And I kind of like that guy too. I came across him in Washington, D.C. after that a little while later, and
he was a good guy.
Yeah,
hung out a little bit. Yeah.
I wonder if his shop's still open. Do we know? It was like Rose.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
Buds and Roses.
Yeah. That's cool. All right, so let's see. Now that we're over here and we're talking a little bit about, we gotta take a break. John, take a break. All right. Take a break and come back and hit the topics here.
We'll hit them. We'll hit them hard.
Well, there's no guarantee. Something could change in the meantime.
We'll see.
Listen to Planet Green Shoes, episode 550. Where do we go from here? I'm your host, Michael Komorn, and we will be right back.
The Planet Green Trees Show.
When you're charged with a crime, you need a real attorney. And here's just a few reasons why. The police, the courts, the labs, the drug tests, probation, the judges, the jails, the prisons, and the entire system is just one big machine. They have one objective. Take your freedom, take your possessions, take your money, take your children, control your life, and destroy your future. You only get one chance to hire the right attorney. One that will stay in your corner. One that will fight for your rights. One that will fight for your freedom. Choose an attorney that's experienced in fighting the justice machine. Attorney Michael Komorn. Knockout victories one case at a time. Komorn Law. Google it. komornlaw.com.
The Planet Green Trees Show.
Join the Michigan Medical Marijuana Association today. MichiganMedicalMarijuana.org. The MMMA is focused on the well-being and safety of medical marijuana patients. The MMMA site provides the most comprehensive and up-to-date news on legal issues, politics, research, cultivation, as well as the various strange products and methods of cannabis use. Come join the discussion with the most knowledgeable and passionate advocates in Michigan today. MichiganMedicalMarijuana.org.
We're going to bust out with it one more time with this one.
I'm feeling high. My money's gone.
Good job, Lulu. Sound great. I knew that would spark y'all asses up. I'm up here playing my ass off, ain't nobody paying attention.
An important and historical farm crop in American agriculture is returned after having been classified as a controlled substance and illegal. On December 20th, 2018, the President signed the Farm Bill, also known as the Agriculture Improvement Act of 2018, into law. The signing of the act was great news for the hemp industry, which amended the definition of marijuana in the Federal Controlled Substances Act. Hemp is now defined as the plant, Cannabis sativa L, and any part of the plant, growing or not, with less than 0.3% THC concentration on a dry basis. The plant itself is no longer a controlled substance. Hemp is one of the most versatile plants on earth. From clothing, fiber, paper, building materials, hempcrete, biofuels, CBD, and medical uses, it has been a part of America's industry for over 200 years. Even the United States Constitution was drafted on hemp paper. The time is now. If you're thinking of getting in the farming or processing of hemp, contact our global experts, legal, and consultation teams to make sure that you're on the right road when you venture into the new hemp industrial revolution. Michigan Hemp Industries has been a leader and advocate for the return of the hemp industry. So come be a part of the new revolution in agriculture in Michigan.
Charged with a crime, you need a real attorney. And here's just a few reasons why. The police, the courts, the labs, the drug tests, probation, the judges, the jails, the prisons, and the entire system is just one big machine. They have one objective: take your freedom, take your possessions, take your money, take your children, control your life, and destroy your future. You only get one chance to hire the right attorney. One that will stay in your corner. One that will fight for your rights. One that will fight for your freedom. Choose an attorney that's experienced in fighting the justice machine. Attorney Michael Komorn. Knockout victories one case at a time. Komorn Law. Google it. komornlaw.com.
Bill Schuette led the charge against medical marijuana, and even after the will of the voters was decided and the support was enormous, he still continued to fight against the will of the voters, keeping patients from the medicine that they need. So I think it's important that we all speak up on what we think about this initiative. But when the voters have their say, their will must stand.
I am Earl from G3 Cannabis Therapy Network, and you are watching Planet Green Trees, the original and #1 podcast in Michigan for all things cannabis and legal news.
Here's Michael Komorn with more Planet Green Trees.